Any limitation or irritation is a loss of energy. You want $1 million to continue our favorite topic, and what separates you from that level is your energy. So where are you leaking energy? Well, here I judge, here I don't accept, here these people annoy me, here things should be different. Here I am out of agreement. Any disagreement is a loss of energy. Agreement is the key to love, and love is the elevator that lifts us through the levels of reality. If you want to rise through the levels of reality, come into agreement. If you want to come into agreement, find those narrow places in your consciousness. Find what it is. What irritates you, and who will help you with this? Everyone. Everyone around you. They're all just your helpers, really. They are all blessed, especially those blessed souls who irritate you the most, betray you, hurt you, I don't know, stab you, or do something else entirely to you. These are all blessed souls who play along with you, so that you become present in the moment. Remember, feel, what exactly is it that this person is bringing out of you?
Well, not blessed souls, but spirit guides. I like that term more, right? I agree. Just sit down even and
There is just nothing to say.
yeah, there's really nothing to argue about. That's right.
All right, then let's just go into more detail on the topic, for example, about energy loss. So here it says that any emotion, irritation, judgment, anger, and really any emotions drain our energy.
That's right.
What about positive ones?
They drain it too.
Why does that happen?
It's just that we generally generate far fewer positive emotions, so it's not as noticeable and not as strongly felt. Any of our emotions lead to certain losses. It's just much easier to push a person into negativity. Why would anyone bother trying to get you into a positive state if they can just snap their fingers and you're already in a negative one? So the mechanism works both ways. But in most cases, no one is going to trouble themselves, push themselves to some joyful hysterics just to make your consciousness start to flow out. Basically, they'll just push you to the point of stress, depression, some kind of panic, fussiness, twitchiness, or nervousness. That's much easier to do. That's all there is to it. Yes, and you will lose all of your own resources.
So any disagreement is a loss of energy.
Rejection. As you can see, there is a specific term used for this. It is non-acceptance, and it happens when you feel like you're right and the world is wrong. When you genuinely believe that something here isn't the way it should be, according to your understanding. In short, when you think you're smarter than God, as soon as a person takes the position that they're smarter than the Creator, that's when a whole bunch of problems start for them. Because we judge the world with flawed organs of perception, very flawed organs of perception. We don't see the whole picture of the world. In reality, the world is absolutely harmonious. It is whole, it is beautiful, it is pure. But this can only be seen through extrasensory perception, through vision. You will never see this with your senses. And when a person looks at the world only through their senses, they get the illusion that the world is wrong. No, it's not the world that's wrong, it's just that you are crooked, askew, and you don't see a thing. So when your own deeply flawed and distorted perspective starts to provoke intense feelings deep within you, like everything is wrong, unacceptable, everyone around you is completely mistaken, and things should be different, you begin to argue with God, but God is the one who will always win that argument.
Do you remember that moment, that very first moment when you realized, or maybe felt, that the world is just as it is, that everything here is right, everything is in its place? When you stopped resisting, stopped rejecting it, or has it always been that way for you?
Yeah, I can't say that I ever really rejected this world. I was curious about it. I found it interesting. I had different motivations. I wanted to figure out how all of this works, why it is the way it is, the way it is. So it's not that it's wrong, but rather, why is it this way? It's very foolish to claim that something doesn't correspond to reality when it's actually happening. If it's happening, then it does correspond to reality. It's just that I don't understand this reality. And that's why I was always motivated specifically to figure things out, to understand who I am, what my nature is, what the nature of reality is, what my place is in this reality, and where I can even go from here. What counts as an achievement here and what counts as degradation? It's unclear how things work. For example, a person spends a lifetime in sports, right? Then at 40 they have a heart attack and die. Another person drinks and lives to be 90. Yes, he's sickly throughout, but he made it to 90. It's unclear how or why this happens. Everyone says, yeah, he's a scoundrel, a rascal, but he has 10 apartments and 15 cars. And someone else, oh, the life of the party, such a great guy, just wonderful, but he only has one shirt and even that has a hole in it. Why is it like that? When I observed all this, I didn't resist it. I wanted to figure it out. So I can't say that I was actively generating disagreement, some kind of disagreement with the world. No, what I generated was specifically a desire to study, to get to the truth. I got to the truth. Now it's all obvious to me, and I help other people get to that truth.
Why does it really happen this way? So one person has everything, and even if in the eyes of others, in the eyes of other people, he's a bad person. He stole things and he earned his money quite dishonestly.
Because the eyes of others are not what determines it. What matters is who he is in the eyes of his own soul.
In other words, it's important to come to terms with yourself,
with your divine part. If a human being has peace, calm and grace, harmony, love and sincerity with their divine part, what real difference does it make what someone else might say about them? So,
even if they happen to do some, well, what I mean is things that harm other people, for instance.
He is nothing more than a dedicated conduit of spirit for another person. When you go to a professional coach and want to achieve tangible and lasting results, you choose the most rigorous and uncompromising coach, understanding that he will eventually make a true master out of you. But a coach who is just like, whatever, don't worry about it, will never actually make anything out of you. And when this coach starts training you very harshly to achieve those results, you don't say he's a cruel or unkind individual. You even pay him money for it. And he is highly valued. It's the same in real life. Sometimes you get trained by another person without your consent. Why? There are 1,000 reasons why this happens. And you calmly say that this is a bad person. No, he's not a bad person. He's just your coach who doesn't even charge you money. We have motivation not only for the body, but also for the soul. And sometimes it's the motivation of the soul that lets these coaches into our lives. But the body resists, of course, complains, doesn't like it, isn't satisfied, that's all. But when you're in the gym, training, when you do it consciously, you say, okay, the body shuts up and keeps lifting that barbell. But when you don't understand why this is happening, well, suddenly everyone around you seems bad.
Is it important what state you're doing it from? From a state of love or from a state of violence against yourself?
Let's be honest with ourselves. If we count the minutes a person is actually in a state of love, you could count them on your fingers. Most of the time, a person remembers that there was no love. They're not in that state. Here are two people, a man and a woman, they fall in love, they have this love, but after a day or two or a week, this state even fades away. They just remember that they had it. It's the same like, I don't know, when a child is born for the first time, reaches out their little hands to you, you feel maybe your heart flares up with warmth, with fire. But then what? Then it poops everywhere, screams loudly, throws up and even steals money right from your pocket. Over time, it begins to cause serious problems. You just don't love it anymore. You only have the memory that you once loved it.
So not everyone truly loves their children? That is correct? No one.
Loves their children? Almost no one.
Why? But everyone.
They talk about it.
Yeah, everyone talks about it.
Just saying that you love is not enough. Look, I say there's a stack of money on the table. Here's a stack of money lying right in front of me. Do you see this stack of money? And I'm telling you all this with a straight face.
I feel like there's about to be a riot right now. Let it begin. Write your opinion in the comments. But how do you explain this? I mean, a woman who gives birth to a child, who invests her whole life in...
Not love, just a reflex.
What is the difference then? On the outside it looks the same, so what's exactly different with your senses?
You can't understand it at all. Your senses aren't able to track this. You need extrasensory perception, you need vision. When a person has vision, they look at another person's energy and say, oh, this person is in a state of love. Or they look at them and say, no, they're just acting on their reflexes, on animal instincts. There's no love there at all.
In fact, almost every person doesn't love their children. It's just an instinct. Supposedly it's necessary. In most
cases, yes. There are cases when both instinct and love are present at the same time. Yes, that can happen. In other words, the energy radiates outward from the body as well. These vibrations of the human heart, and a person begins to act instinctively to protect, to preserve, to save, all of that. But that's very rare. It happens. Most of the time, even instinct doesn't work.
It is frequently suggested that there can be a unique form of unconditional love between a child and a parent. However, that is not always the case.
It can't be unconditional. Between a child and a parent and the word unconditional, how can that even be in the same sentence?
Well, you see, usually, for instance, if we look at it, if we take male-female relationships, we often choose partners who, in one way or another, are compatible with us according to certain criteria. Who
That you like.
Who you like.
Attractive. Who
Suits you.
useful.
Yes.
It is suitable. It has the resources that you need.
So in any case, there have to be some points of contact for
Both parties. So what does unconditionality have to do with it?
here, none at all. Well, these are exceptional cases, some rare situations, but when it's a child and a parent, it's like some kind of bond, an unconditional bond.
There are conditions there. That's your child. Let's put another child there, someone else's. And that's it. Everything falls apart immediately. There are conditions there. It's your child. That's the condition. Your love is conditional. It's because it's your child.
But how do you then reach unconditional love?
By practicing spirituality, developing this unconditional state. That is, you simply exist in this state, even if you've never had children at all.
Are we talking about opening the heart right now?
Yes. Right now, we're talking specifically about that very love which is mentioned in religions and by Jesus. He spoke about it, and other practices spoke about it, and all sorts of spiritual teachers talk about it. That very love which has no conditions, but you're talking to me now about love with conditions. For example, unconditional love between a parent and child. I'll take all children, for instance. Would you love all of them unconditionally? Of course you wouldn't. You would choose either the one who is yours, or you'd say, damn, what's even going on here? This is like some kind of kindergarten. No, unconditional love is a state in which a person exists. If a person can enter this state without any particular reason, that's a high level of spiritual practice. And if, having entered this state, they never leave it, if nothing can knock them out of it, then that's already some kind of Mahadev, a deity on earth.
Interesting. The video also mentioned the phrase that love is an elevator that lifts us through the levels of reality. What do you think about that?
Well, that's a very accurate phrase. It's a very accurate phrase, but you shouldn't take it in a simplistic way. If we treat it as if it's something that will turn 2 apartments into 50 apartments or 2 cars into an airplane, that's a bit of a misguided approach. But when we are talking specifically about the spiritual path, about being outside the life of the physical body at moments of transition, that is the defining factor, a very powerful one. Plus, love in your heart is your life. Inability. It doesn't mean your life will be good, it means you can't be killed. That is, even in the most absolutely total situations, you will still manage to get out of them like coming out dry from water. This is the heart. This is that love, internal, very strong, and it defines your connection with the soul. That is, it doesn't even mean that your life will be good. It means your life will last and you will always come out dry from the water. But whether you end up in that water or not, that's your personal decision. I know many dedicated practitioners who have learned to interact deeply with their own heart, whose heart is just fine, and who do all sorts of crazy things in their lives. And every time they get out of it. At the same time, I know practitioners who have made peace with their heart, have touched their soul, don't do any crazy things, and simply keep moving to higher and higher levels of success, fulfillment, and prosperity. That is already the person's own choice. If you don't have love, it's very hard for you to move forward at all. And the very first problem will crush you.
All right. If we touch on the topic of rejection, right now, we live in a complex modern world, where we are surrounded by many various factors that cause anxiety and some irritation. How can a person learn to cope with this? How can you avoid falling into this rejection? Don't touch
these things. Just don't look in that direction. We have a staggering and overwhelming abundance of information streams about how to hate. We have a seemingly endless supply of various information streams that are specifically designed to teach us how to focus on division. It is always a matter of him versus them. It's me and them. These ones and those ones are bad frequencies. Vibrations bad and good. As soon as division begins, as soon as they start telling you that there are, and all of these, right then, you need to immediately pull your attention away from there. But it's the same thing, as being an expert in types of crap. And just because you're an expert, crap isn't going to turn into flowers. You'll still be wading through all of it.
All right. And what would you recommend, for example, to those people who haven't yet reached this state? Practice?
Develop extrasensory perception. Develop vision. Move beyond the power of the senses. The senses of the physical body, how many do we have? 5 senses. Everyone knows them. Sight, smell, everything is occupied. So, move beyond their power, move beyond their limitations, all your senses. Now, what will they say, you and I? These are completely separate beings. But vision and extrasensory perception will clearly show you that we are one and there is no separation. When do people start stirring up topics on the internet? Here's the men's movement, here's the women's movement, feminist, and all of them are separate. All of them are isolated. This is all a path to destruction. It's all a path to the loss of love. Whether it's a man, a woman, a child, an adult, or an elderly person, it's all one single being. And on the level of the soul, you see this absolutely clearly. You see it, you don't think about it, you don't listen to it, you see it. On the level of energy, we are all absolutely united. But to see this, you need to practice. And to practice, you need to completely cease wasting your time, focusing on unnecessary division and conflict, and instead consciously redirect your focus towards self-development, self-evolution, and the path of spirituality. After all, our time isn't infinite.
Are there any, cases, situations, or moments in life that irritate you? Or is there nothing like that at all now? Do you just not direct your attention there and don't experience those kinds of emotions?
Listen, well, there are some moments in my life that I don't like, but I don't let them inside. I don't allow those moments to make me bitter. So I say, yes, I don't like this, and I try not to interact with it or to transform it. That is, I try to turn those moments into something else, into something different. And in most cases, it works out. Although, yes, it's true that there are certain difficult situations where I simply can't manage to distance myself, completely detach or transform things. And as a result, some subtle vibrations of internal aggression begin to appear. They do come up for me. But again, I understand what's happening. I have come to realize that in that moment, I'm rejecting reality. I have come to realize that in that moment, I'm depriving myself of vitality. I have come to understand that I can't simply let it go on its own. I need to work through it as well. I need to see it, experience it, let it pass through me, and eventually burn it all away. This kind of reaction, everything happens consciously. And when some consequences of my rejections come back to me, again, I'm not surprised, like, oh, why did this happen to me? It happened. I understand perfectly well why this happened to me. Yes, these events are rare, but they do happen. Well,
we need to actually experience these emotions. Instead of suppressing them and enduring until you suddenly snap, it is better to let them out naturally before everything bursts out at once.
Of course. But we need to develop extrasensory perception. We need to develop vision. Then everything will become obvious to you. You see, if you run through the forest with your eyes closed, no matter what you do, you'll still end up running headfirst into a fir tree because you can't see it. So you run into something once, boom, your nose is crooked. Well, I accept everything, I understand everything, but my eyes are still closed. You keep running, bam, a birch tree, your skull gets cracked. I understand everything, I accept everything, but my eyes are still closed. It's pointless to do this. You need to sit your butt down, go into meditation, and at least open one eye a little and take a look. Ah, there's a fir tree, there's a birch tree, that's what's really going on. Not just sit there and accept everything. That's what works, that's what brings results. And then once that one eye is slightly open, you carefully get up from your butt, holding your eye open like this, and you start to move slowly and carefully so it doesn't close again. That's the spiritual path.
So I have one final question to ask you, and it's a bit of a controversial one, but still, according to various ancient scriptures and legends of the past, it was frequently said that the gods killed out of love. So could it be possible that someone could do something like that purely out of love?
You see, if we are talking about the gods, for them, love is an eternal and permanent state. They can't leave the state of love. For them, it's self-evident. And yes, this principle also applies to Lord Shiva. When he manifests in his formidable state as Mahakala, he can annihilate entire universes.
Is it possible for people to do that?
Which people? All of these are fragments of Mahakala, all of these are fragments of Atman, you can call it whatever you like. But these fragments return to themselves.
All right, but can these fragments manifest themselves here in such a way, out of love, doing similar things?
You know, I actually once had a specific case during a private consultation. I told the person, if your heart is open, do whatever you want. To which the person replied, oh, so I can kill with an open heart then? He says, yes, you can kill with an open heart. How is that possible? I said, easily. And so she sits there straining and sulking about something. I said, all right, stop this nonsense. Let's get to work. Let's practice. And we started practicing, and after some time, through practice, her heart opened. She felt her soul. She had a fire ignite here. And at that moment, she said, now I understand why you say that. You see, when your heart is open, do you really see what you can do? Anything at all. But in most cases, you won't do anything because you already feel good. But yes, you can do anything, but you won't do it. When your heart is closed, most likely you will act and you'll get hit over the head, and there will be very strange consequences, and everything will descend into chaos, and nothing will make sense. You have to experience this. It's impossible to explain in words. And when we talk about gods, that is about beings who are radically different from us. When we consider their manifestation, their power, their awareness, and their extraordinary capabilities. And when these beings finally bring the cartoon to a halt for us, then while you're inside this cartoon, you get killed. But for an outside observer, a fragment of consciousness is freed from illusions. It gains the opportunity to perceive its true nature, and the fragment of consciousness and its true nature, that is Mahaya, Defa, that is the primordial. In other words, the fragment of consciousness remembers itself as the primordial being when all these illusions are stripped away from it. For example, in my tradition, there is a deity named Durga who is armed to the teeth. And interacting with her basically turns you into a cabbage stalk. She cuts away everything unnecessary from you. If a person who is unprepared goes into this, for them it's a horror, simply what is happening. But if a person knows why they are going there, they go with a smile on their face, knowing that now everything unnecessary, everything that does not belong to them, will be cut away. Different levels of consciousness, different levels of awareness, and different levels of knowledge give rise to different selves. Reaction? So if a person fails to fully comprehend what is happening to them, it is quite possible they will begin to wonder and ask themselves, how can the universe be destroyed out of love? But if a person does understand what is happening, then it is quite possible they will be patiently waiting for that specific moment when their gods pull them out of the illusion. We are in a dream, and this dream is being witnessed and experienced by Brahma. He immerses us in illusion because that is his nature, that is his task. And eventually Shiva arrives, and all those fragments that Brahma immersed in illusion, Shiva liberates them from these illusions. From the inside, it really looks like, yes, the universe is slowly being destroyed, but from the outside, all these fragments are liberated simultaneously. That's why things aren't so straightforward in a multidimensional universe.
Thank you for your answers. Be sure to write your questions and impressions. We might answer them in the next video.
95% of people don't even realize that within them lies a power that grants access to any possibility, a successful business, strong relationships, health, and self-fulfillment. It allows you to hear your soul and remember your true nature, your divine nature. This power is your energy. When it is blocked, you feel tired and upset. But when your energy flows freely and without obstacles, you are full of strength and capable of achieving any goal. Everyone can feel the movement of energy in their body. Are you ready to see this for yourself right now? I've prepared a practice where, in just 3 minutes, you'll become aware of the state of your energy and be able to activate the inner power that has been blocked for many years. The practice is available for a limited time. Right now, follow the link provided below the video and unlock the incredible source of power within yourself.